Are you curious as to how some of my houseplants are doing now that it's kind of coming up to winter? If you are, stick around with me and I'll give you a tour of the houseplants that are in my house. Hi, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. So today's going to be part of a two-part series. Quite how these videos are going to come out, I do not know. But today I want to show you around and give you a bit of an update in terms of now that we're coming close to winter time, we're kind of coming to the end of autumn, of how my houseplants, the ones that are actually in my house rather than the conservatory, are doing. The second part of the video, again, do not know which order these are going to come out in, is going to be a very in-depth tour that I've already filmed of the conservatory, so you can see how that's doing. You can see some of the plants that I might not be able to bring up and show you, and you might understand why I can't pick up some of these plants to show you. But today's video is going to be focusing on the plants that are just out in regular household conditions, a lot of them above radiators, just to see how they're doing at the moment, to see, like, we've had a bit of a cold snap, my heating hasn't been working, the heating has since been working, like there's a whole host of things that have happened and there's a lot to update you on. So without further ado, I will show you around. Just fair warning, this is going to be a point of view kind of recording. It's just me kind of talking you through some of the plants and you can see what I'm seeing through the camera. Also, before I let you go, I do need to always give the caveat. You know me, I'm messy. I did not tidy up before this, so no judging, or at least no judging too hard. Okay, and starting off strong, just outside the conservatory, sometimes you might be able to see this, possibly. This is my large bird of paradise. So this is the Strelitzia Nicolai. And you can kind of see all my kind of filming equipment there. And you can also see a very, very massive kind of grow light there, because normally what I do with this plant in the summer, and you might be able to see because I am lazy and I have not cleared it up. This summer is outside and then it struggles all winter to try and get some light from that window there. So this time around I thought I'd put a bright light. Do not worry, that is not on in the evening where I might be sitting in the living room watching TV. That is on a timer that will kind of switch off. But yes, there's also some really cool art on the wall. Right, let me show you around some of the other plants now. Actually, before we do that, let's say hi to Spike. Okay, so you might be able to see Spike in his little 3D printed hidey hole. And when I talk about terrariums, a lot of the time, at least at the moment, I am talking about this. So there's some form of, oh, I can't remember what this one is. This is some form of a palm. There's an aglaonema there. There is also, I forgot this in the other video as well. I can't remember now what that one is. There is a little begonia there. I just kind of like it because it's dark and it's got a bit of that corkscrew spiral. There's a croton right there at the back. There's some climbing logs for Spike. Ironically enough, in this terrarium I used to have, that is the remnants of ferns. Even the ferns did not like this terrarium, but the rest of it is doing quite well. Oh, actually no, technically that's not a fern, but that is technically an asparagus fern in the back there. So yes, that is little Spike, and Spike obviously is nocturnal, so at the moment there is lights in the terrarium at the top, mainly for the plants. He doesn't need it during the day, but he'll sleep during the day and come out during the nighttime. And what you might be able to see there is two ZZ plants, predominantly because these ZZ plants are actually directly above a wood burning fireplace. So they need to be able to be hardy plants. They don't get an awful lot of light in here. So yeah, that is kind of necessary for them to be hardy really. And then if I bring you here, we've got my last remaining bastion of a Sansevieria. I actually got this Sansevieria, believe it or not, this was on a Kokodama, and I'm just like, why would you put a Sansevieria on a Kokodama? But this has struggled over the years, but it gets very little light here in relation to where the window is, which is there. Duke's little place underneath the TV during the evening time, and he kind of uses that as a bit of a den. That's kind of leftovers from when he was a puppy, but he seems to enjoy it apparently. Apologies if you hear any howling. You might be able to see potentially all the leaves moving outside. We're having a bit of a storm today, so yeah. So yes, before I show you it more individually, this is the front window in essentially what is the living room. So again, apologies for the mess, but here you can kind of see some of the plants that I do kind of grow a bit more ferally. So firstly, we've got the Hoya australis lisa, which is getting larger and larger and larger. And when I say mess, I mean that I need to clear a lot of stuff up from down here. Then is neon philodendron scandens. There is a philodendron eximium. Let me spin it around so you can kind of see what it looks like. I think sometimes I found another plant as well that's called the philodendron gracili, I think, and it looks very similar to this, but I bought it years back called the philodendron eximium. Whether or not it's accurate, I do not know. But down here, and when I say it's windy, oh, it just died down now, but you might be able to see the tree that's kind of swaying. But for my American kind of viewers, probably nothing as big as what you guys get, but you know, this is big for here. That is the plant that's a bit like the little baby that I was given at one of the plant swaps, and it's doing really, really well. It's in a no drainage situation, and it's doing really well. I've got some propagations here of a Euphorbia trigona that I just cut up my Euphorbia trigona and just shoved it in some semi-hydro. It's doing fine. Ripsalis, oh, I can never remember the zigzag plant, basically. That one's doing okay. A random propagate of a Philodendron melanochrysum. Some of the last remaining bastions of the leaves of, why can't I never remember this plant? This is Philanthus mirabilis, I think it is what it's called. But this is quite normal for it. It will lose all of its leaves in the winter, and then they will grow them back in the summer. This stunning Dracaena, and I cannot remember which one this one's called. If I can, I'll put it up on the video during editing, but I really, really enjoy the green and the white, and it is lily white. Sorry for the kind of bad lighting at the moment. It's just because it's not a particularly bright day. Oh, actually, let me switch on the bright ceiling light and see if that makes a difference. Yes, possibly that made a bit of a difference. So you can see the Milano that I was talking about now. Here is some of the last bastions of my Philodendron pedatum, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the pedatum. And it's just growing in some semi-hydro. These are my truly feral plants. This is a Paphiopedilum. There are some, and I can remember some of these, some from a Princess Hoyas. These might be Carnosa variegans, basically. I've got my Crown of Thorns that is doing a rubbish, and then a very feral Gigas that's just doing its own thing. I've let it do its own thing, and it's fine. And then down there's a sedum. There's a sedum, is it donkey tail? I can't remember, but it's the one that kind of trails down, and this was something that I found of one little leaflet in a plant that I bought years ago, and I just propped it, and I've now got a bit of a plant there. And then this is the entryway, so for the eagle-eyed British people that watch my videos, that is a radiator right behind these plants, and it's usually on and very, very hot here because the front door is there. But yes, there's 3 ZZ plants in there, as well as, and I mean, to be fair to these ones, I've had them for what probably is almost a year. They're probably just shy of a year, and they're doing fine. I've tried loads of different things there and nothing really took, mainly because it does get some light. I specifically wanted it all with a window just so we can get some light, but it doesn't get as much as you might think, which is why you're seeing the ZZ plants stretching. And then there is a variegated albo syngonium that I'm trying to grow one singular stem, which was a random propagation, on a moss pole just to see how it's doing. Now the thing that has changed is the front door plant. So this used to be a hibiscus a while back, and it just was really struggling at that particular moment in time. So, and yeah, this is taking some time to kind of settle in, but it's because I've also grown it with alocasia, with an alocasia miscaliciana, and the alocasia miscaliciana, it looks a bit busted, but it's because it spent most of the summer outside, and I wanted to bring it in because it regrew. So, and I can't remember why this one is called, I don't know why, but I've got a new growth that is happening there, which is really, really cute. So I don't think it's hating life that much, but it's kind of just getting adjusted to kind of being in with something else that wants a bit more moisture than this one does, because again, this has got a very caudiciform type of structure, so it does store some water. But it seems to be doing okay for the time being, so time will tell. And then I need to show you the downstairs bathroom ponytail palm, which, to be fair with this plant, I've had it for probably 6 or 7 years at the moment. It hasn't grown huge. They're particularly slow growing plants, but it's doing okay, and it's kind of fine. It doesn't really, it's probably one of my least demanding plants. People do not give ponytail palms enough credit. And obviously, again, for the people that have seen this before, yay, gold leaf ceiling. But apologies for the scary painting on the back, basically there. There's something that stayed. I bought it in for Halloween because this is a slightly more gothic-y looking bathroom, believe it or not. And it just kind of ended up staying because I quite enjoy it just being a bit kooky and a bit dark. And just a random propagation of the Syngonium albo, which had reverted, but I water this whenever I can remember, and it's just fine. It doesn't really mind too much. And then if I show you here, that is still my golden pothos. That is doing okay. It hasn't done an awful lot in the last year, but I just needed to fill a corner with a whole bunch of green, which it is doing quite well, actually, I'd say. And yeah, I do know a lot of people that have asked about where I got that print. I think I've put that in the comments as well, but before anybody asks, I know I really enjoy it, that's why I obviously bought it, and it's meant to be like an anatomical heart, but made out of like houseplant leaves. This was done by an artist that I found during the pandemic on Etsy, but it seems that they've closed down their shop. I think that might have been a graphic designer that had a full-time job and just was trying to make ends meet during COVID and was doing these types of prints. Unfortunately, I don't think they sell or will sell any of these again, so I'm very fortunate to have picked one up. Okay, and here's a little cameo of Drusilla, who has been in and out of brumation for a while now. Oh, yes, you noticed the camera. Oh, there we go. But hopefully she's coming out of brumation. This lizard is hysterical. I find her like really, really entertaining because it's one of those things that is just like, you're just brumating due to Australian times. So when it's starting to get warm in Australia but cold here is when she decides to come out of her brumation, which for the people that don't know, reptiles, brumation is kind of like hibernation but not full hibernation. But yes, this is my orchid window. So vanilla orchid. And I know there's at least one of you that's going to correct me as to which vanilla it is. I'll see if I can put it on the screen. And then the dendrobium orchids that I struggled with for so long to try to get happy, and then eventually just put it into the same orchid bark that I've done with my other orchids, and it's fine. That is Isla the lab. Should not probably leave her some privacy there. She is one of Duke's buddies, so they always get really excited when they see each other. more Phalaenopsis orchids this time of the year. You can kind of see the wind behind, but this is the time of the year where I tend to get all my flower spikes happening. That is my largest orchid, not that you could tell by the leaves, but this one has got the largest blooms. It's just one that only blooms once a year. Most of my other Phalaenopsis orchids will bloom at least twice a year. My mini orchid, my mini Phalaenopsis orchid, which I don't think is a Phalaenopsis orchid, but sold as a mini Phalaenopsis orchid, which you'll see in a minute, that blooms several times in a year. And then what you'll see is, again, more cuts and propagates of the Burleymarks variegata. And because I know, Tanya, you shared this recently, if you see this, hi, that is my Monstera Thai constellation, my office Monstera Thai constellation. And you can see I almost got a half moon, and it was doing really, really well. And I think that the difference between really cold days, when it was cold actually and the heating wasn't working, this wasn't happening. And as soon as the heating came back on and it's fixed, I'm starting to get browning. Whether or not it's related to each other or whether or not it was going to always happen, I don't know. But I got about 6 months of the leaf being like that, so I'll take it. It's fine. If it goes a bit brown now, it's okay. And then let me show you the rest of the plants in the office. And then you can kind of see here, ironically enough, I've got this light here, but it has got a grow light in it because grow lights everywhere. Golden pothos, and I was hoping with the golden pothos that I might actually, this had already grown. So this is something, I think it's probably common knowledge at this point. If a golden pothos has lost some of the yellow variegation that it has, like you might be able to see on that leaf there, which is blown out to white now, you can't get it back by then giving it more light. So it will, at least in my experience, it will go almost fully green or fully green. If it's not getting enough light, it will still grow relatively happily, but you might lose some of the goldness. If you then give it more light on the growing stem, not on old leaves, you'll get some of that goldy variegation coming back again. And then there is, oh, why am I blocking? Cast iron plants, Aspidistra elatior, and this was random Dracaena, just a green one that I got from a supermarket years back, mainly because I thought it looked like a pineapple top. And years ago I'd seen, and I'd never picked it up, I'd seen a pot that was like a gold coloured plant pot that looked like the bottom of a pineapple. So I bought this in hopes that I would find that plant pot again and put it on and it would look like a pineapple, but I never found it. So yeah, some propagations of ZZs. There is Monstera spur Peru, some very, very dark cornered ZZ ravens. And then, like most British people, I've got that one bathroom that nobody ever uses, but it ends up becoming laundry. This is my original Pink Princess, which is looking busted. So I think this might be going to the compost gods, and something else more interesting might be put here. Then coming into like the family bathroom. So this is the, what am I blocking again? Ming Aurelia, which I was so happy it was growing so well in the summer. And do kind of tell me if you've ever grown these and grown them for a while. I'm getting a lot more yellow leaves. Irony is, it's also growing new leaves, like that one there is a new kind of leaf, I would say, or many leaves. But I'm also losing them as well. They're kind of yellowing off and drying off. I thought it might have been rot, but I've pulled back on the watering and I can see lovely kind of roots that are coming through the clear pot right there, if it will focus. And they seem to be healthy, so I think it might just not be liking the winter. There was an air vent at the top, which was blasting in cold air when it was really cold, so I've now closed that. Then this is where the Ficus shiveriana is overwintering. It's looking a bit darker than I would like it to be in terms of like the variegated bits aren't as vivid, but you know. More cuttings of the variegated Burleymarks because it's a weed at this stage of my house. This old leaf needs to go, but this is some cuttings of my Monstera albo. and that is in semi-hydro, but these plants are always doing really well. They're always relatively hardy in here, basically. Oh, and then this room is always looking a bit busted. So this is a golden goddess or lemon lime philodendron, which has snapped, and I'm just kind of letting it do its own thing. It's not dying. There's some more propagations of the Burley Marks variegata, more pedatum that isn't doing as great, but again, need to clear up the shelves, you know what I mean, the window ledges. This one here is a Ceropegia sandersonii, I think. If not, I'll correct myself. Oh, my lovely little, I want to say Echeveria, but I don't think it is. No, it's a Haworthia truncata, I think. And touch wood, because I'm really not watering it very much during the winter, it hasn't rotted out on me, because it has rotted out by the end of spring it rots out, and then I have to reroot it all summer long to then bring it back. But yeah. And then these are some of my succulents slash cacti. And for the person that I traded with who sent all of these, they are getting so much bigger. Another propagate of, which is looking so crispy. I need to deal with some of my crispy leaves. Ugh, I'm so sorry. This is the least variegated Monstera albo, and you can kind of see what I mean there. There you go. You can see quite how gusty it is outside. That was another Eximium, which I've basically just kind of let die off, and I need to kind of replace at some point. And some more succulents, and there's a whole bunch of like Stapelias, very, very cool plants, basically. Okay, so in a different room now, this is my jade, my Crassula ovata, and it's doing okay. It's lost some of its lowest leaves that I didn't particularly like, but it's growing a bit more like bonsai tree-esque at the moment, so I'm okay with that. This is an Echeveria that I bought years ago from a supermarket, and you can see where I cut it, and you can see where all the props have happened, and you can see that some of them are seeded in the soil. I need to deal with this at some point. I might just chop them off and put them in a new pot in the summer. This is where my spiral cactus is living. Its best life at the moment. This Hoya is stunning, and it's bloomed for the first time, and hopefully, let me see if I can get some zoomage in here. Would it work? I'm going to focus. There you go. You can kind of see the blooms. You can also see as well some of that silveriness has come off there. Is that silveriness? Where is that from? I think this is something DS something I bought it as. I'll put it on the screen. However, I think this is called something else. I think I've seen this on Grow Tropicals being sold as something else. The really cool thing about the blooms, they're nothing to write home about, but wow, these smell like actual honey. Like actual honey is amazing. This is one of the last bastions of the peperomias that I was talking about. So this is my Peperomia obtusifolia, I think, variegated. A few more succulents down there, another Haworthia, and the original, and you can see where the cut was taken for the Euphorbia triangularis that I had downstairs. And now in the bedroom. So this one's looking a bit crispy. This is the Mendelina plant, and it's doing okay. I need to kind of deal with some of the window ledges because they're getting a bit of condensation and mold that happened when it got really, really cold, so I need to deal with that. These are Euphorbia obaces, but you can see that they don't always stay that kind of round shape. They do kind of grow columnar, and you can see there if it focuses, it's really, really cool. And I quite like the markings on this, and it's a shame these were big a few years back, but you don't see them as often anymore, and it's such a crying shame because these are really, really cool plants. Then you've got, I can't remember, Conophytum, I think that one is. And then here, that little there, is my little baby peyote cactus. This is the mini orchid that I was telling you that's pretty much always been in bloom since I bought it. What was it, 5-6 years ago? It's never not been in bloom. This Hoya here is a new addition. I think you saw me unbox this. So this is the Hoya quinquenera, I think. I'll add the name at the top. I've been trying to get it to attach to the janky support stick for a while, And I know there's a whole bunch of you that talked about anti-clockwise to wrap them. Love you all, made a huge difference, and I'm getting some leaves already there. So that's the newest leaf, which is really, really cool. This Hoya Phalaenopsis, not Hoya, Phalaenopsis orchid is in spike in 2 places, which is great. This one, annoyingly, was a watering day today, and you might be able to see right down there, there's something that looks cut. I was trying to put it on a stick and I snapped it, which is so frustrating. My Sansevieria Moonshine, which is doing really, really well, and it's getting blown out, but for the people that say that they only do well in dark corners, this is a south-facing window. Also, note the plants that are in south-facing windows. I know before you say it, the Mendolina probably doesn't need that much light, but it also didn't kill it. Ooh, and before I go downstairs, this is a Marble Queen, and that is a Neon Pothos, and that is right next to my desk there. And then also, for the people that have been asking, there's some 3D prints that are happening at the moment. These are some pegs for a pegboard. Oh, and that's something I will show you. I know it's slightly off topic for plants, but I know people enjoy this on my channel. Give me a sec. So that is pegs for... Ta-da! I've been trying to find a way to display these so I can see them easier. These are all of my earrings that you all quite enjoy when you see them on the channel. So these are not all of them yet, so that's why I'm printing off the pegs. I've got them in other places, so I'm trying to get them all in one place. So yes, very exciting times for me. And you know it's not a house plant house tour without a cameo from Duke. Hey, baddie. Yes. So Duke, interestingly, for those that are following Duke's story, I hadn't spayed him or had him kind of neutered since a puppy, basically, because mainly the vets wouldn't let me until he was at least 2 years old, and then they were just like, oh, maybe don't do the surgery, maybe do the implant. So did the implant, and ironically enough, got gaslit by them going, oh, why are you doing the implant? Why didn't you just want to do the surgery? I'm just like, you have been... But anyway, the implant is in, with the proviso that we'll see how it goes, and then if he doesn't have a bad reaction to it, then he'll get the surgery. Guess what? He's had a great reaction to it, so the surgery is going to be happening in 6 months when the implant runs out. But yes, this is the Monstera acuminata, I think. Yeah, I think that's what that one is. I might be wrong. So this is where the painted lady is living, and it's trying its best to come back, but it's a relatively hardy plant. So this one, however, is some propagations and cuttings that I had of a glorious, and let me show you, because it's the first time I've ever had it on the screen. That, can you see that blister that's happening at the back of the leaf, which is all filled with liquid? And there's another one right there. You can kind of see it buckling. That is a prime example of a standard edema on a leaf. And I've got some more Hoyas there. That varicosum is dying. I'm not going to revive it. Pregnant onion remaining there. Some green cuttings of the Burley Marks variegata, and then also a much bigger Atospadistra elatia. So this is another cast iron plant. And I know, again, not plants exactly, some of the art on the walls, but I found when Malvern happened, I found this amazing artist that did these types of prints, which I thought was really cool. And there is another one also, that stained glass thing or glass art that was done by my tattoo artist, which is really cool. She's got amazing kind of almost tattoo inspired stained glass things, and I'll link her Instagram down below where you can buy some of the stuff. Really, really cool. But yes, and that was another one of the arts that happened from Malvern, which is really, really cool. It didn't just have plants, so bear that in mind. This is the utility kind of room window, and there is a variegated Hoya Wyetii. There is a Croton that is doing okay. You've seen this recently on my channel. This is the last bastion of my Monstera sylvaticum. I think sylvaticum, yeah. Behind it, which I'm growing on a moss pole finally, you can see how big that leaf is. This is a reverted Adansonii, which is really, really cool. And because it's doing quite well, I wanted to kind of give it a bit more space. There is some Chewbacca propagation, so Begonia sizemorii, and there is a single stem propagation of the Piper sylvaticum, which, by the way, is just growing in regular household humidity here. Okay, and the last window of the house is the kitchen. This is, oh, and see, this is what I mean. I hate Hoyas. I mean, I love Hoyas, but I also hate Hoyas for this reason. Covered in mealybugs. This is a Hoya pubicalyx. I don't know which variant of it, but it's also like sun stressed and bleached from the sun, but this also blooms a lot. This is the only reason why it's been left here. It's always had issues with mealybugs, but you know. I think this is a Callistophila that I grew from propagates. Oh no, this was actually bought as a more mature plant. More of the Wyettiae. My desert rose, trying its hardest to keep on some of its leaves for the winter, but I know that it might lose all of them by the end of the winter. I'm okay with that. This is the, oh, what's it called? The Adenium arabicum, the baobab kind of adenium, which is doing okay. And this, Hoya numeralioides, butchered that, I will kind of put it somewhere down below. This one has always struggled with rot and all these things and different things, but this is the first time I've got it to bloom, and I am so, so happy. I know this is easy for some people, but I've struggled with this a lot. And then this is the Hoya croniana silver. I won't be mentioning the other name like I did many, many years ago where I didn't realise. And then Ficus, ooh, I want to say Benjamina, but the variegated one. So look at me, be proud. I'm trying a Ficus, and I'm trying the one which apparently drops all the leaves. It's done really well so far. That, I think, is one of the parent plants. I cannot remember what that Hoya is called, and I don't think I've got it in my plant care app. I think I've just got it as water Hoyas. That is one of the parent plants of the Hoya Sunrise. This one I cannot remember at the moment, and at the side, which again has got mealybugs that I need to deal with, is the Crinkle 8. Okay, and now you've seen all of, I think all of them, yeah, all of the houseplants that I have in my house, including some guest appearances from pets and art and all of these things. What do you think? What do you think? How are yours doing this kind of like autumn wintry time? I know this is the time when a lot of the plants start struggling, but I am here to remind you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. This is the worst time for growing houseplants for most people. There's a risk of rot, and there's not enough light, and it might be a bit too cold, but, and I know it's still a while away. Spring will come, and summer will come as well. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, enjoy the growing season. And I'm really sorry that a lot of the times when you get content from the rest of us that are from the northern hemispheres, we're off kilter with when your growing season is. But enjoy your growing season. For the rest of us, enjoy, I guess. Survive. There you go. Survive the non-growing season. We'll be fine. We'll all be fine. The holiday season is coming up soon as well, so that will be good enough to get all of our minds off things as well. An actually question for you with that coming up soon. It doesn't have to be holiday season themed, but are there any videos that you all want to see me do? Always, there's a lot of you actually that will either put it in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram, and I do really appreciate that. None of those kind of subjects are binned, if that makes sense. It's always going onto a list. And I think I'm kind of getting to the point now where I'm running dry a bit on my list of things that you want to do. Obviously, I've got my own ideas for videos, but if you've got anything that you would want me to kind of talk about, show, do all these things, do let me know either in the comments or in DM on Instagram. And yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say today. Also, there is no guarantee that I'm going to do the topic that you choose, but I will always put it in a list, and eventually at some point I'll get round to it. It might just not happen right now. Make sense? I just don't want people sitting there going, oh, I've sent a topic and it hasn't been done and they're not going to do it. No, I'm probably going to get round to it. I just haven't got round to it yet. So I do appreciate all of your lovely, lovely feedback. Anyway, but yes, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I truly, truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.